This is now full on spoilers. I can assure you guys, Jar Jar Binks is not in the movie. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Let's dive into spoilers immediately. This is a spoilers review. For those of you who haven't watched the movie yet, there's a spoiler-free review on the channel. Go check that out. You're safe on there to know my opinion, my thoughts on the movie. But now, let's dive into the wonderment of the first standalone movie. Not only a movie that stands on its own, therefore standalone. Oh, I see it now. But also a movie that adds a lot to the Star Wars universe. Let's start with the simplest of things, the little references specifically to A New Hope that I love. From the aliens from the cantina on Jedha confronting Jyn Erso when she just bumps into them just because, then to the fact that they go on to Yavin 4, not only because it represents that this movie truly is the heart of the rebellion, but they actually go to where the heart of the rebellion truly was, where Mon Mothma was, and they start to orchestrate everything that would eventually lead up into A New Hope. And there we got a little satisfying cameo from R2 and C-3PO, and I just love it because they were always in the shadows, and I love just the shot itself where it's always spanning, following our rebels, and just we happen to cross by them and we keep on going. It's just wonderful how they always kept on going despite these references. These were truly references as references were born to be done, and these were references that were just tips of the hat to us fans who love the mythos and the story of Star Wars. Let's start with the story. The first act of this movie really felt a little bit jumpy for me. It bothered me a little bit less in the second viewing, but I understand it more now, and I understand that it was only necessary and they couldn't have done it any other better way. At least I can't think of any other better way. These stories are all going to converge. These characters are all coming from some other place, which makes them feel very real, very realistic, as this movie is in its tone and on its visuals. It's grounded, it's greedy, it's hard, it's raw. We get to meet Jyn Erso and her backstory. We get to meet Cassian Andor. We go to Bodhi. Then we go into Jedha. We meet two more characters. We get to meet 2K. So, I mean, it's just so many characters. It's really natural that it feels rocky. It's a flaw nonetheless, but it's only natural that it happens. Still, the movie just gets so much better after that. Okay, let me talk a little bit more about Jyn Erso. As some of you know, I have read the book Catalyst. It's a prequel to Rogue One in a way because you follow her parents. Her parents and Orson Krennic are the main characters of that book. I felt for her in the backstory. But even if I did not read the book, I felt for that little bit of the backstory as Orson goes into getting Galen Erso. I completely disassociated my mind from the book. From that moment, from the acting, the visuals, the music, the tone of the scene, the shots Gareth Edwards planned for that, I feel this character loves her parents. This character had a good life. The hatred she had was always for the Empire, and it started on that. Jyn Erso in the book, she doesn't hate the Empire. She's completely clueless to what is going on, to the gravity of the situation. She doesn't know. She doesn't have to know. She's a child, for fuck's sake. And on that moment, we get to see Orson making his ultimate betrayal. You see that Galen is just trying to avert the situation. He's just trying to avoid anything from happening. He's just trying to, okay, Orson, let me go. I won't tell anybody anything. I just want to leave here in peace. Of course, he tries to protect his wife and all, but that's only what a good man would do. And Orson inadvertently, for argument's sake, kills Lyra. Lyra dies and I felt for it. I felt for it because I read the books, but Lyra still caused a major impact for our character. That's where the hatred for the Empire is born. That's the cause to all of this. And Ben Mendelsohn played it really well, almost feels like he's read the book. And I'm going to talk about that when I get to the Orson Krennic character. But Galen then gets captured, and we get Jyn left alone with a friend of the family. Then immediately after, in comes the title, and she's grown up and she has been abandoned by Saw Gerrera. To me, Jyn really represented the heart of the rebellion. She was a human who wanted to fight the Empire. Did she have the means to? No. Did she truly feel like she had any chance at all? No. But when she finally gets reacquainted with her father, when she finally is able to see him again, because remember, this is a character that doesn't hate her family. She's not antagonistic towards her loved ones. She doesn't have any hatred. She doesn't have any bad relationship with her parents. Nothing was born out of malice in that family with each other. They all loved each other so much. And in the little bits of the movie we get in the first act, although rocky it is, you feel that for these characters. You immediately get to know that she doesn't have any ill will toward her father. And you get that when the hologram comes on and she just looks at that and she is just like missing her father so much, and that she gets that flame lit on that she wants to save him. And after that, she wants to help the rebellion. I love this character. I love her evolution towards the movie, her evolution of her motivations, just growing and growing and growing and giving her more stuff to do. And she is completely unpredictable. She was antagonistic towards Saw Gerrera. He abandoned her, which I hope in a novel or comic it gets explained, maybe in a novelization of Rogue One. I hope it gets explained. I want to know more about that. But Jyn Erso from beginning to end goes through a lot, which only fuels such organic evolution of the character. She gets her mother taken away from her. She gets her father taken away from her. She is abandoned by her father figure. She meets her father figure yet again, many years later, and yet again, he's taken from her quite literally. She meets her father again, and he's taken from her quite literally. And then she starts to meet all these characters, which all believe in a rebellion against the Empire, but all of them in so many very different ways. And I love that characterization. It's very simple characterization. It's very subdued characterization, but it is there in the visuals, in the script, in the dialogue. It is there. And again, when her father dies and she goes to Yadu to get the plans for the Death Star, her motivations keep on building up towards each other, and she's very, again, unpredictable. This character does things that you aren't normally expecting. You are looking at the screen, this movie's going on, you see her going through some stuff, and you are guessing, okay, she's now going to do this, or she's going to do that, she's going to ask for the help of this guy or that guy. She doesn't. She completely shifts to the other route, and she does things in a very different way. Felicity Jones nailed this character in the nuances she gives to the performances, in the levels of depth that the character is given through her dialogue, through her story, through her evolution towards the film and its ending and its progression. I love Jyn Erso. Great protagonist. Very different protagonist. From when she begins very antagonistic towards everyone, just want to be left alone, even changing her name. And then in the end, again, representing the heart of what is being a human being, of what is wanting to fight for something that you believe in. That giving of the hand, that embrace that they give in the end was beautiful. They were on the elevator going down. They were about to kiss. I was like, please don't kiss each other. Please don't kiss each other. Please don't kiss each other. They didn't. Thank the maker, as C-3PO would say. They just embrace as natural human beings would. If you don't agree with that embrace, as you're watching a massive explosion that is going to destroy the planet you are in, going on towards you, if you don't embrace the only human being left alive that is next to you that just saved your life, go fight for the Empire. Seriously. Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. I told you guys, I love this character. He was my favorite. From the beginning, when he meets with that guy for information, then the stormtroopers comes in and he kills them, and then he kills the guy, and I was like, this guy has levels. This guy has some deep, dark secrets. That was one of the scenes that made me love this character, but then there's that scene after Galen dies and they get taken away and Jyn confronts him about the ships that killed her father being rebel ships, and he confronts her about they're doing stuff they don't necessarily want to do. The rebels have been forced many times into situations that they necessarily don't agree with, and that right there cements the gray area that I love and is found in the Star Wars movies. Maybe except the prequels. I love that just in that scene, in that piece of dialogue, it lays so much groundwork and so much depth and so much layers to not only these characters we are following, but the actually existence of a rebellion itself. The fact that there are rebels that want to do certain things and other characters that don't necessarily agree with, but they are on the same team. And then it builds on and it keeps on building when some of the rebels agree to go with Jyn to Yadu to get the plans, even though Mon Mothma and the other general who killed Jin's father don't want them to do it. Diego Luna was absolutely a great choice for this character, and I really would like to know much more from him. I love this character. There are so many things that the script and Diego Luna himself himself add to this character. Just the looks he gives to Jin and the other characters, just his determination in the missions that they are accomplishing in this movie. His motivations, the fact that they are so secretive, the real goal that he wants to achieve, besides, of course, saving the rebellion, destroying the Empire, the obvious ones. Despite all that, I love that there is so much mystery to this character. It is so beautiful to see such a character portrayed by such a great actor and having so many layers behind that we don't necessarily know or find out in the end of this movie. Being that this is Star Wars, being that this is such a massive thing, it's only natural that we don't find all that out in this movie, and we don't necessarily need to. I want a book to come out. I want a comic to come out. If I don't get one, I won't mind it at all. I wouldn't mind this character to stay this way. I wouldn't mind the things I know of him stay as they are. I wouldn't mind that at all. I love this character. Chirrut Îmwe and Baze Malbus. I told you in the spoilers review, from the dialogue, you get so much from them. These guys have been friends for a long time, and they were both believers in the Force. From the dialogue, you get that they've known each other for a long time. From the dialogue, you get they were both believers in the Force. Truly, Chirrut Îmwe is such a badass. When he comes in, and he's like, I fear nothing. All is as the Force wills it. And then he just kicks Stormtrooper's ass like a motherfucker, and then Baze Malbus gets the final shot, and they start to bitter banter with each other. In Saw Gerrera's hideout, they are in prison, and you get their little backstory. You get that Chirrut Îmwe has believed in the Force through and through, and you get that Baze Malbus at some point lost his belief. My guess, and I know of these characters only what I've seen in the movie, is that when Order 66 came in, Baze Malbus started to not believe it, because the Force, this entity that binds us all together, would never allow its protectors to die and be extinguished, just slaughtered like cattle. Baze Malbus, he was a badass. When they are in Yadu and they fight on the beach, and then you have that moment where, come on, you knew he was gonna die anyway. Chirrut Îmwe walks towards the button that he has to pull. I am one with the Force is one with me. I am one with the Force is one with me. When he started to first say that in the movie, I thought he was going to bother me a lot. But suddenly, I realized something. Just in that moment when he starts to walk towards the button and saying that, they both represent believers in the Force that we don't get much out of. Not even in books, not even in the comics so far, not even in the TV show so far. There are many ways to believe in the Force. Look, the Force is something that you cannot touch, you cannot see. You can only feel if you are of a certain type of person, that is, Force sensitive. Just like in the real world, if you apply it to religion, you have many ways of believing in a god, in an entity, in an all-powerful divine power, in a higher entity than yourself. You have many different ways of believing and going on about it. And Chirrut Îmwe has his way. Baze Malbus, he had lost his way. We don't get his way. We don't know if it was ever the same or if it was ever different from Chirrut Îmwe, but Baze Malbus regains his belief, or a way to believe in it, through his friend's sacrifice. He believed it was not in vain because they have such a deepened friendship. Could I have used a little bit more of characterization? Yes, as I said, it is simple characterization, but it is there. When I analyze it, it is there. And I love that we don't exaggerate on characterization because we have this story to go forward. And I will say something about the story because I know many people who complained about its predictability and whatnot. We knew these characters were going to die. That was not the point. I'll talk about it in a little bit. I love this duo. I love their fighting style. The fighting sequences were spectacular in the way that only Donnie Yen could have pulled them off. I love that they had not the same fighting style. One was all kicking ass physically, another was blow them up into pieces. Love these two guys. K2SO, this guy is lovable. Not a C-3PO ripoff. I love this guy. Such dry humor, such dark humor. He's this guy who they could have easily put a little bit of analyzing AI kind of plotline in this movie, but they didn't. He's an AI, he knows it, and he acts like he is an AI, and he loves it. Jyn Erso, you must take this with you because the captain says this. Jyn Erso, you are doing this, but this is how you should do it because this and this and that. And I just love this character, how he just states the obvious with the biggest poker face possible. Not like he can physically change his face, but you get it through the dialogue spoken out by the great Alan Tudyk. I love this guy. even when they are in the chamber trying to get the plans and they find out that it's Stardust and him with the plans, and he's right there finally with a blaster shooting out stormtroopers, which is like one of the saddest death scenes in this movie, that he's just fighting, but he keeps on being himself. He keeps true to his character. He's not going to give a big monologue just in desperation because he's dying. I just love how this character was handled. I love his relationship with Cassian. I love the relationship he ends up creating with Bodhi, played by Riz Ahmed. I just love this character, and every single piece of dialogue that he says, it works. Jyn Erso, I will protect you. Followed by a big silence with Jyn just looking at him like, I kinda like you now. And as she's thinking this, and as she thinks this, K2SO is like, Captain says I have to. And he walks off. I just love this character. There was not one moment where I didn't laugh at a single line of dialogue he has. But speaking of parts of dialogue that I cracked up at, when Chirrut Imwe, Baze Malbus, Jyn, and Cassian get captured by Saw Gerrera's allies, and they cover Chirrut Imwe's face, and he's like, are you kidding me? I'm blind! As again, this kind of poker face about him that is just like, dude, come on, seriously? You're going to cover up the face of a blind guy? Are you stupid? I cracked up in that scene. I'm laughing again now. I'm probably laughing more than I should be laughing. That line of dialogue just, it brought tears to my eyes when I heard it in the movie, and it's starting to do so again because it's one of those lines that's just like, hit the dart on the board. Just perfectly spoken out loud, perfectly executed. I loved it. Riz Ahmed is the one character I needed to see a little bit more of. He never was the character that you felt like you had to follow more than any other, but he's the one character who I could have used a little bit more of because the actor is just so great. Riz Ahmed is amazing, and whatever he does in this movie, he is amazing at doing it, but I needed it a little bit more because they focused a lot on the fact that he knew Galen Erso. They focused a lot on the fact that he brought the plans from Galen Erso to Saw to give to Jyn. They kind of forgot him in the second act, and he went back to be necessary in the last act of the movie before his sudden death scene. It's not a fact that I didn't know his character was going to die, it's the fact that he died just like that, almost technically off screen, because a Death Trooper, he shoots this grenade up into the ship he's in, and boom, he's off, he's dead. I was not expecting him to die that way. I was not expecting him to die that quickly after it became so necessary, after they activated the shield in the atmosphere, after they sent a signal up to Tente 4. I was not expecting it at all, but Riz Ahmed, he was great, the character was good, I need a little bit more, but at the same time, I have to be honest and say I didn't miss him again because they didn't make him feel so necessary. Saw Gerrera. I love Forrest Whitaker. I love Forrest Whitaker's performance. I liked Saw Gerrera in this movie. I did not dislike him, I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. Saw Gerrera to me in this movie is the representation of the older fighters. The guys who have lost hope for themselves. They still believe in the rebellion, but they know that they are not going to accomplish anything anymore. He's there on that hideout in Jeddah. He is lost. He's completely broken apart. Both mentally, you can see it in the performance, and physically. I mean, the guy has 2 robotic legs, where in just the previous scene in the backstory of Jyn Erso, we saw him walking around, maybe running, I guess. Saw Gerrera to me represents the lost, broken dreams of rebellion fighters. Saw Gerrera to me represents the generation passing the torch and counting on the newer generation to be like, fight. Keep on fighting. Keep the dream alive. Keep the rebellion alive. Fight the Empire. And when people complain about, well, why didn't he go with them? Dude, he has 2 robotic legs. When Bodhi first comes into his hideout and they take the bag out of his head, you immediately see Saw Gerrera's legs. He's walking like this. Just a couple of steps. He's really slow, dude. He cannot run. He will not delay the others from surviving. He will let himself die because, again, you see in this guy, he's completely broken. He does not believe he can do anything anymore. He might as well die. He's counting on Jyn, who he's known since she was a little girl. The voice of Saw Gerrera is something I did not necessarily like. It's not something I necessarily dislike. I could see Forrest Whitaker was trying to nail the Ondorian accent from Saw Gerrera that he had in Clone Wars, that we know the character to have. I can see that he was trying to do it. Did it work? I don't know. Undarian is a made-up accent, but still, it bothered me because I just didn't see it in Forrest Whitaker, you know? Didn't hear it correctly out of him. It just didn't fit for some reason, even though I know the character has an accent, and it's probably that one. The fact that he went pitch up and pitch low on his voice just kind of mixed it around for me. I respected what he was doing. I understood it. It fit the character. It just came off a little bit wrong, just because he was in the movie so little time. Maybe if it was in the whole movie, maybe it would have worked, who knows. It kind of bothered me, but it didn't really bother me. It bothered me for the scenes he was in, again, the first act, and again, I was never reminded of that again in the movie. Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic. This guy is delightfully narcissistic, is delightfully sadistic. This guy is delightfully a psychological game player. This guy likes to mess with people mentally. This guy likes to have the upper hand. He likes to show off his position of power. We're going to talk about a character with which he has a rivalry in a bit. From beginning to end, you just see that he loves being evil. He just loves having power. He loves that he's enslaving his best friend. He loves the fact that he accidentally killed his wife. He doesn't care. More motivation for others to kill him and to think he's all powerful and to hate him and see that he's truly evil. Every scene you see that this guy feeds on power and on people adoring him and fearing him and seeing that he's this great engineer and great genius mind, that he's going to construct the Death Star for the Emperor and destroy planets and be his greatest ally and asset. This guy is delightful to watch on screen. Performance by Ben Mendelsohn. I loved him so much. He just chews up the dialogue and chews up the scenery. Every scene he is in. I love this guy. I didn't love, however, the way he was handled, especially towards the end. I would have liked a little bit more of a longer scene, of a longer confrontation between him and Jin, especially because he didn't die from the shot that Cassian gave him. And come on, we knew that Cassian didn't die as he fell from that, right? We all knew it. But every confrontation he has in this movie is delightful to watch. With Galen on that rainy planet where he kills the other scientists, and he kinda ends up killing him as well. From the confrontation he has with the biggest badass of them all, Darth Vader, who we'll talk about in a little bit, to the fact that he has this beautiful rivalry with the Grand Moff Tarkin. Tarkin was in this movie, and it was beyond words great to see. When he's on there looking at the Death Star from what I can assume is his Star Destroyer, the Executrix, and they just leave him there with his back to the camera just long enough to feel like a tease. Feel like the director is teasing and is like, do you want to see Tarkin? Do you want to see Tarkin? You want to see Tarkin? Don't you want to see Tarkin? You want to see Tarkin. And Tarkin turns around. Me and my friends just, wow! Special effects on point. Just, wow! Peter Cushing came back from his grave. Peter Cushing was in this movie. I don't care what anybody says. Don't tell me he was behind the motion capture. Peter Cushing came beyond the grave. He came back to participate in this movie, and it was amazing. The performance, the character, the dialogue, the way he looked. Can you see those visuals, people? Can you see those visuals? Tarkin looks good. He looks fine. And I just love the expertise in filmmaking that was given to this character to make him look good on screen. Because you see, in every shot he's in, Tarkin is surrounded by shadows. The edges of his head are surrounded by shadows because sometimes you can see, in even the best of movies, when the special effects are there, you can see the line and the edges just not mixing together when it's a real set, and then you have a motion capture actor, for instance. And in this movie, you couldn't see it. Peter Cushing came back. I love how Tarkin was handled in this movie. Just his bitter banter with Orson Krennic. They have this rivalry, and if you ever read Catalyst, the book, you will see it a lot. It's like Krennic wants to become Tarkin. Spoiler, he doesn't. And just Krennic's end was so poetic. He looks onto the Death Star. The Death Star is ready to shoot. It's going to shoot on Yadu. And you just see Krennic looking up to the sky and thinking, you son of a bitch. And you have that final shot far away from Tarkin inside the Death Star. He's with his back to the window looking on Yadu, and he has that slit smile on his face that only Peter Cushing could do, and they captured it beautifully. That slight, sadistic, evil smile. You have permission to shoot, and they shoot the planet on, and it explodes, and it looks beautiful. I want to talk about Galen Erso a little bit because I was honestly expecting to see a little bit more of him. At the same time, I know he didn't serve any more of the story. I'm going to reference the book again. I know this might be annoying. I know it might feel like I'm bragging. I'm not. I'm just saying that not reading the book didn't take anything away from you guys. But if you ever read it and see Rogue One again, it's going to enrich your experience a whole lot. I was expecting to see Galen Erso just a little bit more. Just a little bit. I was just expecting seeing him and Jyn just at peace for even a single second, but at the same time that could have felt a little bit cliche, even given the fact that he was going to die inevitably. I like that this guy was from the get-go, I'm a good guy. I don't want to be a bad guy. I don't want to build this thing. And the fact that he is in this movie, and the fact that the role he plays is absolutely necessary, and the fact that he gives the name Stardust to the Death Star plans, that is the nickname he gives his daughter. The fact of the role that he plays in this movie gives a death sentence to a lot of complaints from many Star Wars fans for many years. He put the flaw in there on purpose. It's a minor flaw, absolutely necessary to be there for the Empire not to notice, absolutely necessary to be there to be even possible to nail a shot at it so it can internally explode. I love Galen Erso. He's a truly badass. Again, if you ever have a chance to read Catalyst, read it. You gotta focus on Galen Erso, on Lyra Erso, and on Orson Krennic. And you can see a lot of these characters in these performances. The performances from Mads Mikkelsen and Ben Mendelsohn made me see a lot of the characters from the book in this movie. And I loved it. It really felt like they read the book at some point. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if they did. They might have. I don't know how it's possible, but they nailed these performances and characters. Before we go on to the greatest villain of all time in cinema, let's go to the final shot of this movie. Hope. Princess Leia. She was in it for a second. It might have had some error that I didn't notice, but she looked as good as Tarkin. Benjamin Button technology has come a long way, folks, and if for nothing else, this movie deserves to be nominated for Best Special Effects, if not win, for Tarkin and Princess Leia alone. The sound design just on that, I can only guess that they took the hope word out of Help Me Obi-Wan, You're My Only Hope. But the sound design was pitch perfect on that. She looked pitch perfect. I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was Billy Lord, but she looked absolutely incredible. And just in that final sequence of them delivering the plans, the Tantive 4 leaving, and you just know what's going to happen, and you are just hoping, are we going to see Princess Leia? Are we going to see her? And then you finally see her, and the movie ends, and you're like, yes! We saw her! And now I'm going home and watching A New Hope again! On my Blu-ray player! Or in my case, on my PlayStation 4. Tarkin and Princess Leia just look so good. They did not take me out for a second. I don't know what people there are complaining about the way they looked are complaining about. They did not take me out. They added to my enjoyment of this movie. The fact that they are in here, but especially the fact that they look so freaking good. Darth Vader, he has 2 scenes in this movie. I don't think he was necessary in any other scene because the movie not only would have been over in 20 minutes if Darth Vader was directly behind his rebels chasing after them, but the movie is not called Darth Vader. It's like the original script for The Force Awakens. The original script had Rey and Luke throughout the whole movie together. If you had Luke in the entire movie, we wouldn't care about Rey. Honestly, I love Rey. I love her. I love Rey Skywalker. But I wouldn't have cared for her despite how well written she might be if Luke was in the movie. I would have wanted to catch up to Luke. Darth Vader has this amazing scene where he comes out of the Bacta tank in a planet that really made me giggle because if it isn't, it looks a lot like Mustafar, and it's just psychotic that he's still on there. And he goes on to face Krennic, and he tells him exactly what the Emperor wants, what the Emperor fears, what the Emperor demands. The Emperor wants this and that, and that's the way it's going to be. And Krennic displays his lust for power yet again. And Vader's not taking any of his shit. You're going to get your weight choked out of your life, son, if you ever put another foot forward towards me or the Emperor. And then when Vader comes in, he gets onto the ship and he just starts killing. Stormtroopers come in, they are shot, then the rebels are suddenly trapped, and Vader just slashes away. He puts 5 motherfuckers in the air just with one force push, and he just goes to the door, and just with his mind, boom, the door's out, and he kills and kills and kills just with a slash. He doesn't care about rebel guns. He's way too powerful for that, bitches. He's going to slay all these motherfuckers, and it's just incredible to see, from the red lighting to the music, the score by Michael Giacchino, to the way he just stands on there on the edge of the ship and his cape flowing in the wind. It's just so great. It suddenly becomes almost a horror movie, or just, let's say, a horror scene when Vader's on there. He comes in, he kills, because that's all he's going to do. We never doubted for a second. When Vader came in, he was going to kill a lot of motherfuckers, and he did. And he kills the rebels, and now we know he's going after Leia and actually catch her. I heard some people complaining about him being too thin. Who the fuck cares if Vader is too thin? I don't care. You don't care. Okay, he looks thinner. Who cares? Gareth Edwards has expertise filmmaking on here. He always made this movie feel grounded, realistic, gritty, hard-hitting. The action sequences in this movie are expertly pulled off in space and on the ground. We follow these characters never from up here with an aerial shot. We always follow them this way, and they are walking in front of the camera sideways. We always follow them from the back, or we always follow them from the front. It's always like this. We always follow the humans. And this director knew it. This director knew its characters. This director knew how to handle them visually. Again, the visuals in this movie are amazing in the director's perspective. I love that. He knows exactly when to pull up to the ships. He always has these great transitions. He always has the humans focused on, and then you hear some sound. Like when Chirrut Imwe is behind the boxes and he starts to hear something. The camera's like this. This is Chirrut Imwe. He hears something. He turns, and the camera turns with him, going to the back of his head, continuing to filming him, and giving us the human perspective towards the AT-ATs that are coming in. It's very rarely that in this movie we see a camera shot above our human characters. We get one in the reunion with Mon Mothma, and we maybe get one in the Rainy Planet where Orson Krennic kills the other scientists. But that is it. The humans are always on focus. Figuratively, metaphorically, literally, any way you want to look at it, the humans are always here. And that's, again, what makes this film so powerful. Because this movie, it's really focused, again, on the heart of the rebellion. And in every single way possible, you look at this movie, at each and every one of its elements, you are following the rebellion, the heart of the rebellion. And that's what makes it so different. We are following the people that surrounded the powerful characters that we always knew and loved. We are now following the people that surrounded the heroes of the Star Wars saga. We are now following the people that surround them that we never got quite a look at. Honestly, if suddenly came a Star Destroyer from space and it was hovering above New York City or London or whatever, you wouldn't be a Jedi. I wouldn't be a Jedi. You wouldn't be a guy who has made the castle run in 12 parsecs. I wouldn't be the guy who has made the castle run in 12. We would be these guys, these rebels. I love the element where you have rebels rebelling against the orders of the leaders of the rebels. That's way too confusing. I should have found another way to put it. I apologize. This movie is expertly pulled off in the directing and in the storytelling. I love each and every element of the directing, each and every element of the storytelling. As far as the first act of this movie is concerned, I have actually a lot of flaws with it. I do. As the narrative goes, I have a lot of flaws. Does it bother me come the end of this movie? No, because it holds up. The whole cohesive unit holds up. The second act holds up. The third act, more than holds up. I mean, the third act of this movie, Jesus Christ, it's awesome, it's perfect, it's amazing in every single way. The tone of this movie is incredibly different than any other Star Wars movie. The references are there, and they never take away from the story. Not in the writing, not in the way the camera moves around. The cinematography actually looks really great. I just found out the same guy did the cinematography for Lion, and I also found that movie very gritty, very realistic in the way it looked. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, brings a new element to the Star Wars saga, brings something new, something different that also fits with the rest, brings a new element to the Star Wars saga. It brings a new perspective in the way characters look at the Force. It expands the lore a lot. It explains things that need to be explained if this is actually going to happen before and immediately before in A New Hope. And I love how this movie enters the Star Wars saga. I love how this movie complements it. I love how this movie pays respect to the Star Wars saga, but especially the original one, because if it wasn't for the original one, we wouldn't have Empire, we wouldn't have Return, we wouldn't have the prequels, okay, we wouldn't have The Force Awakens, we wouldn't have this. And if this is the first standalone movie, and if this is the way they are going to handle standalone movies, I can't wait for the Han Solo movie, because I want to see how that movie is differently going to insert itself into the Star Wars saga. And that is probably my longest video ever, maybe besides the Star Wars Celebration videos, but maybe this is my longest review, spoiler review ever, and I hope you guys love this movie as much as I did. I can't wait to know your thoughts, I can't wait to engage with you guys and sharing other ideas, something that I might have forgotten in this review. I can't wait to see what you guys thought of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Thank you so much for putting up with me in this review, my beautiful geekies, just because I love talking about Star Wars. Please, guys, let me know in the comments below, do you want me to make videos like this big, this long? Because with any other Marvel, DC, big movie that deserves a spoiler review, I will do bigger videos just like this. Just let me know, please, in the comments below if you want to see that, or if you want to keep it around the 20-minute mark. Tomorrow, my beautiful geekies, the Q&A is coming. You guys sent a lot of questions for this one, and it just makes me love Star Wars a whole lot more, makes us engage even more with each other, and makes me love the Christmas season a whole lot more, because I will have a triple giveaway to you guys. There will be 3 winners in this giveaway. My beautiful geekies, thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Don't forget to like this video if you like the review and the ideas and thoughts I have on this movie. Don't forget to share with your friends and help them join the beautiful geeky community where we can be geeky united. If you haven't done so yet, click the bell button so you can be warned anytime I upload a video, because there are some glitches on YouTube. Whenever I upload a video, you'll get a notification on your YouTube account. Thank you so much for watching, my beautiful geekies. You guys are the best. You guys are my rebels. We will fight the Empire together. Stay beautiful, stay geeky, and let's rebel. Yeah!